Did you know that cows deserve the credit for the creation of vaccines? Well, part of it. In fact, vaccines are named after them. Hello everyone, welcome to another educative episode of the Global Health Pharmacists Podcast. This marks the first episode of the Drug Discovery Series this year on the podcast. The Drug Discovery Series is a part of the podcast where I tell you the stories behind many of the medications in use today and the individuals responsible for their discoveries. This is important in order to bring a human side to science, to let you know the importance of the works behind the scenes and the importance of these drugs you come across sometimes. Some drugs are discovered by accident, through sheer luck coupled with keen observation. Others are discovered through deliberate, painstaking research, spanning decades. Some are even a mix of both. Today, I'm teaching you history. Yes, well, in the Drug Discovery Series, we do a little bit of history, but drug history, right? Who doesn't like history? Today, I'll tell you about the discovery of vaccines. Last episode, I gave you reasons why you should get your HPV vaccine. If you haven't listened to that, we can do that after you have listened to this episode. Maybe you've been not convinced by then. You see, I discovered that many people are afraid of what they don't know, and in our world today, which is filled with so much information, true and untrue, one has to be careful of certain things, especially when it comes to our health or what we take into our body. With the advent of knowledge and exposure, people are now more curious than ever. Just the other day, I saw a post in which a patient mentioned that she asked the doctor what the content of the injection she was about to be given was, and the said doctor was quite surprised. Well, I'm not. Gone are the days when you give patients or clients medications without labels and they take it without question. In fact, I don't advise it. You should always know what you are taking in. If possible, know the possible effects as well. That's why I always encourage patients or clients to ask questions from their healthcare providers. I have an episode on this podcast about the importance of knowing your medications. You should listen to that. You know what? I think I will do video remakes of some of my episodes which were audio only, so that you benefit from the wealth of medications information that have been on this podcast for over 2 years now. I know I came late to YouTube, but better late than never, right? Back to the matter at hand about vaccines. Vaccine hesitancy is fueled by misinformation, but when the chips are down and there is no choice anymore, many people will take these same vaccines that have been so bad-mouthed. For example, let's say that a child is beaten or scratched by a rabid dog. Who would persuade or cajole the parents before they take the child for anti-rabies vaccination? Imagine if there wasn't any vaccines against rabies in the first place. You don't want to think about the trauma the child and even the parents will go through before the child's eventual death. Because yes, there's no cure for rabies once symptoms start. It can only be prevented through vaccination. Now, imagine the numerous incurable diseases we have in our world today that vaccines have helped to prevent, the likes of hepatitis B, cervical cancer, and the rest of them. So what's the story behind these vaccines that save so many lives? I feel like that was quite a long preamble, but I needed you to get the gist and thoughts behind this episode. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's take it back to before the 18th century. People would get infections and die because there was no cure and the body wasn't strong enough to fight the infections. Diseases like tuberculosis, diphtheria, smallpox, and typhoid were death sentences automatically. In 1774, Benjamin Jesty, a dairy farmer in Dorset, a small town in England, makes a breakthrough, testing his hypothesis that infection with cowpox, a virus which affects cattle but can spread to humans, could protect a person from smallpox. He actually noticed that cowpox contracted by his milkmaids from infected cow on his farm prevented them from contracting smallpox. which was an epidemic at the time. He then proceeded to infect his wife and 2 sons with the disease by using a darning needle to transfer the pus from cows to their arms by scratching them with it. This conferred immunity against smallpox on them, but it was considered inhumane for infecting humans with an animal disease and hated for it by his community. Fast forward to 20 years later, in May 1796, just before the beginning of the 19th century, an English physician called Edward Jenner saw an 8-year-old boy by the name James Phipps with smallpox. I guess he just couldn't leave the poor child to die, and so was trying to find a way to save him. He was aware of ancient practices in Africa, India, China, and Europe where people were exposed to smallpox infection in order to prevent diseases. It was a risky practice because some got the disease while others were immune. This practice was called variolation, derived from the name la variole, which was a name for smallpox. In variolation, people would grind up scabs from infectious wounds and inhale them. Others would transfer them directly to people's bodies with knives or needles, just like the farmer did. Dr. Jenner then decided to try it in James's case, but in a different way. The news of what Benjamin Jesty did with his family back all those years ago was also very well known in the medical community by this time. So, he took some pus from the cowpox on the hand of a milkmaid at that time and administered it to the child. To his surprise and joy, the child got better. Despite suffering a local infection and feeling unwell for several days, Phipps made a full recovery. 2 months later, in July 1796, Jenner inoculated Phipps with matter from a human smallpox sore in order to test Phipps' resistance. Phipps remained in perfect health and became the first human to be officially vaccinated against smallpox. He called the formulation an administered vaccine, which means from cow, since vacca was the Latin name of cows, and called the process he used vaccination. That was how the first vaccine came about. Of course, right now, it is unethical to experiment on a child, but back then, there weren't such regulations and the doctor had good intentions. Following the discovery and development of the first vaccine, which was the smallpox vaccine, in 1872, a French chemist, pharmacist, and microbiologist by the name of Louis Pasteur developed the first lab-formulated vaccine against chicken cholera after losing 2 of his daughters to typhoid. He again developed another vaccine in 1886 against rabies. He did this by administering 13 injections with successively stronger doses of the rabies virus to a boy named Joseph Meister, who was bitten by a rabid dog. He had found a way to weaken the virus in the lab as opposed to the naturally virulent one used by Dr. Jenner. Luckily, the boy survived, and this proved that vaccines could work after exposure to an infection as long as the symptoms were not yet visible. Many other vaccines have come up since then, saving millions of lives that would otherwise have been lost to preventable diseases, such as the diphtheria vaccine in 1894, yellow fever vaccine in 1938, influenza vaccine in 1945, polio vaccine in 1955, and many others, till the recent ones like malaria vaccine in 2019 and COVID-19 vaccine in 2021. Although Dr. Edward Jenner was credited with developing the first vaccine and received the Nobel Prize for it, the farmer Benjamin Jesty was actually the first person to perform vaccination. Although in a crude and unrefined way, he was later recognized for this and rewarded with some money too. Of course, the process of vaccine development has been refined since then and now includes many phases of trials and oversight by regulatory authorities before the vaccines can be made available for use. It takes many years, going to decades, before these vaccines are made available and released to the public. I know someone is watching me and saying, what about COVID-19 vaccine? It was made available very quickly. Well, I will give you an answer. Owing to how the process of vaccine production has been refined over the years and the urgency of the COVID situation, the FDA had to fast-track the process for the review and approval of the vaccine. It's like there's already a template, so there was no need to start from scratch. Also, thanks to the work of scientists like Prof. Happy, whom I had on the show earlier, and other scientists like him who were able to analyze and sequence the COVID-19 virus, it was easier to produce the vaccine faster. Also, this was done during the Ebola virus pandemic. Knowing its structure and the best way to activate the body's immune system against it, the vaccine was produced quicker than usual. It is because of that first vaccine, the smallpox vaccine, that the world has been able to eradicate the smallpox disease. It is now non-existent in our world today, and so many other diseases have been eliminated too in many countries. Thanks to the observance and audacity of Pharmacist and refinement of Dr. Jenner, and especially the cows from which the first vaccine was produced, we can rest assured that diseases which otherwise claimed life centuries ago can now be prevented. Sometimes it's that one discovery that opens the door for many others. So what are you doing to advance public health in your little corner? This brings to mind my interview with Prof. Api and a statement that we are all sentinels. We should all watch out for things that could be a threat to public health in our environment and report accordingly. By the way, if you haven't watched that episode, go ahead to watch it as well. How can you contribute to health now and in the future? Think about it. I'm not saying go and perform unauthorized experiment too. Times have changed, obviously. But if it is to just share this podcast with someone or a group of people, that's also a step in the right direction. Subscribe, comment, like, so that we can grow and we can be visible to many more people. And that's it on today's episode of the Global Health Pharmacists Podcast. I hope you have learned something today. Follow us on all socials, from Instagram to TikTok, Facebook to X, and even on LinkedIn. I'm there, just as the name. You can contact me, like I always say, via mail for your questions as well as collaborations at globalhealthpharmacistpodcast@gmail.com. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay healthy and God bless you. Bye.